All right. Good evening, board members and managers that are in attendance tonight. Welcome to our webinar, the 2021 Pool Season Diving In. My name is Nicole DeRiso, and I am an area manager with Cedar Management Group. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for attending tonight's webinar about everyone's upcoming pool season. I hope you find that tonight's information presented is informative and productive in moving into pool season 2021. A few quick notes about tonight's presentation. We ask that you use the chat feature on the bottom right-hand corner of your Zoom login. You'll see the screenshots on your slide currently. The chat function is at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. My colleagues for this evening will assist in getting these asked of our speaker. Please remain muted for the entirety of the presentation to assist with the quality of your experience. So moving on, a few quick facts about Trident Pool Group and our speaker, Brian Yarman. Trident Pool Group is a merged entity of two of the most respected brands in the Carolinas, US Aquatics and PH Pool Management. The founding principle was to build a stable pool management company that could offer a complete suite of services that meet individual needs of each customer. Originally from Augusta, Georgia, Brian has been involved with swimming pools since the age of 15. He started out as a lifeguard, then moving up to head guard and aquatics director. In his current role, Brian is the Vice President of Capital Repairs with Trident Pool Group. He oversees large capital repair projects along with daily company operations. Brian is a licensed swimming pool operator, as well as an accredited instructor for the National Certified Pool Operator course. Tonight's presentation has been sorry, guys. Not sure if you can hear me. Tonight's presentation has been split up by season and what boards and communities can look to accomplish during each season, along with a brief update of the ever-changing executive orders surrounding COVID-19. At the end of each season, we will pose any questions to Brian that pertain to that specific season, and following the presentation, we will also answer and ask any other questions that may have been submitted along with the results of our raffle. So please sit back and enjoy, and without further ado, Mr. Brian Yarman of Trident Pool Group.
Okay, can you hear me?
You are good to go, Brian.
Okay, wonderful. So good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me along for about 30-45 minutes tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about swimming pools and what's gonna happen this year. Certainly COVID is at the forefront of everybody's mind, but we're also going to talk about the pool season as a whole and where we go in the different seasons itself. But before we start, I have to give a shout out to our friends at Cedar Management, Nicole, Sarah, Pamela. Without their guidance and technical expertise, this would not occur. So I want to say a shout out to those ladies. They did a phenomenal job kind of arranging this and helping with the slides and all the technical aspects. So moving forward right into first slide as we start the presentation. COVID-19. So here we are almost a year later, right? What we know, what we didn't know. It was a difficult challenge for all of us because nobody knew what to expect. And as you will see as we go through the slides, pool season is very structured. We do the same things in January we do every January. We do the same things in May we do every May. And COVID was very difficult for all of us because there were a lot of unknowns. The states, the counties, the federal government did not exactly understand what the guidelines were going to be, what the best practices were going to be. So appreciate everybody's patience as all of us work together to be good partners and good stewards of our communities as we navigated that. So we're going to split it up into two sections because we've got some folks from North Carolina joining us tonight, and then we have our South Carolina folks as well. So we're going to talk about North Carolina. And all of our slides pertain to the rules, the executive orders as of today, this minute, this hour, this second. They could change next week, next month, in the middle of the summer. We don't know. The best thing that we can do, and you'll hear this reiterated through our presentations, communicate. If things change, you will hear from your pool management company. You will hear from your property management company. Certainly you'll see it on the news as well. That information will be relayed as we get it so that we can best assist you to manage your pool safely over the summer. So for North Carolina, as most remember, there were lots of different numbers and capacities last year, and it got really, really confusing, and the state recognized that. Two separate numbers. They were saying that you had to have a certain number of people in the pool and a certain number of people on the deck. And they were talking about capacities and how many people you could have there. It got really confusing as far as enforcement as well. So that has been revised as of today, right? The rule or the guidance is you take all of the square footage inside your pool fence, right? So that's going to include your pool deck and your swimming pool. And you measure that. And a lot of times your pool management company will be able to help you, but you could do it through Google Earth. And you're allowed for fire capacity, if it's not known, 24 people per 1,000 square feet. Okay, so if you have 1,000 square feet of deck and pool, you can have 24 people there. A lot of questions come up. Well, what is our fire rated capacity? And that information is not put on your health department. It was done when the building or the pool was permitted. And that's kind of difficult to find. So that's why they had this formula. So you take all of your square footage inside your pool deck to include the pool, and then you divide it by 1,000 and then divide by 24. And then that will give you the number of patrons that you can have at your swimming pool. Okay. You'll be surprised that that number gets kind of big, but that's what the fire rating capacity is. And North Carolina right now will allow you to operate at 100% capacity. That being said, that doesn't mean that you should have 300 of your closest friends at the swimming pool, right? We still have to operate with some best judgment, if you will. Social distancing, right? You want to try and maintain social distancing as best you can. It's up to the associations if you want to put furniture out or not. A lot of folks did not put furniture out because there were some questions. Would COVID spread by touch points, if you will, right? There's been some guidance based on that, but it would be up to the association if you want to not have your furniture out, have all your furniture out, or possibly limit that, right? A lot of pools have significant amounts of furniture. You may want to cut that back a little bit to try and help folks social distance. We want to try and continue to maintain 6-foot social distancing if you're outside of the family unit and what have you. So that's important as well.
Brian, real quick, can you touch base back on the capacity as far as occupancy again? The one of the questions was, can you go over that formula one more time? And I'm going to type it in the chat for everybody.
Absolutely. So the easiest, and I'm bad with math, so we're going to make an assumption. Let's say that we have a swimming pool that the total fence, right? Let's say we have a square box, and that measures 1,000 square feet, right? And includes the swimming pool. It's kind of small, but we're using that as an example. You're allowed 24 people per 1,000 square feet of deck and pool area, right? So if your box is 1,000 square feet, right? Then you would be allowed 24 people. If it was 2,000 square feet, you would be allowed 48 people, and so on and so forth. It's an exact number, but it's not an exact science measuring, right? You're going to be plus or minus just a little bit. So we try and get as close as we can to that number. Did that answer the question?
Thank you.
Okay. So certainly we still want to encourage mask wearing, right? When social distancing can't be maintained. Certainly if you're outside, we understand, take your mask off and enjoy the weather. But we want to encourage mask wearing when you're going close to people, when you're not able to maintain that social distancing. So swimming pools are about fun, right? They're July 4th parties, Memorial Day parties, swim teams, all kinds of good stuff. That's what we all grew up with. Can you have 300 or your maximum amount of people at a swim team event or a July 4th party or barbecue? And the answer is, unfortunately, that changes the occupancy a little bit. And basically, the intent of that is to say, come out and have fun, but we need to drive the number down a little bit with the occupancy. So as based on the governor's ruling, you need to cut that in half by about 50%. So again, using our example of 1,000 square feet, we can have 24 people there. If you have your July 4th party, something sponsored, right? A swim team event or a July 4th party or something like that, you would cut that occupancy by half. You would be considered an assembly occupancy at that time. So if you're planning a July 4th party, be safe, wear your mask, and you need to be a little more conscious of how many folks that you have at the pool. Cleaning has been a big topic of conversation. How often do you clean? Do you need to hire somebody to come out and clean and disinfect? That's really up to the association. And if you have questions specific to that, we would encourage you to contact your legal counsel to find out what is best suited for your swimming pool itself, right? There would be your best asset and resource to determine for pool A or pool B, what would be the best. There's no pool that is exactly the same. Everybody has a little different scenario there. So we would encourage you to reach out to your legal counsel to ask any specific questions about your facility and cleaning and what would be required versus recommendations.
Thanks, Brian. And as we have on the slide, the orders expire at the end of this month. Do you foresee any major changes to what's currently in the order moving forward into pool season?
As of right now, we have not received any guidance from the health departments or the state, but they don't know as well what's going to come out until it's released to us. And that's been the challenge for all of us, all of the pool companies, all of the restaurant, everything. It's been difficult because there's no inside track. There's no inside information to know what's going to occur, because a lot of that's based on the science and the case rate and what the Department of Health and Human Services is seeing occurring, right? So I would say that right now we are planning based on the governor's orders. And then if something changes, we'll adjust as everyone would adjust, and then let the facilities know.
And we know you can adjust in a timely fashion. I think we were given 1 day to prepare last year for the pool opening. So
it was interesting for sure.
Very much. All right.
So any questions for North Carolina? Okay. On to South Carolina?
On to South Carolina.
So our friends south of the border in South Carolina have a few different things. I've spoken with DHEC today, which is the governing agency for recreational waters or swimming pools. There is not a capacity limit specific for COVID at your swimming pool, okay? So your capacity limits would be based on what the health department says as permitted. And that information is rather easy for your pool company to get. It's on the inspection forms. So COVID related, you do not have a specific capacity that you have to maintain. You do have a capacity from the health department itself. Right now, DHEC in South Carolina is recommending everyone go to acceleratesc.gov, which we've got the link down there for you at the slide. That has a lot of useful information from the Centers for Disease Control. And that is the best resource for South Carolina for updated information. So should Governor McMaster change something or update an order, it would be posted there most likely first. And certainly we check that daily as well in case there are any updates that are approved or sent out. As with North Carolina, you do want to maintain social distancing. You want to make sure that you're careful when you're walking around. If you don't feel well, don't come to the pool, certainly. And as with North Carolina and South Carolina, well, you want to use your best judgment in using the facilities, not only for yourself, but for your family, for your friends, and for your neighbors. The question has arisen, well, how does the HOA handle liabilities? What do you do? What do you not do? What's the difference between regulations? What's the difference between recommendations? And again, that's for your legal counsel to help guide you through those. The CDC information or recommendations that are posted that are best practices to use the pool. So at the end of the day, social distance, wear your mask if you get close to folks, wash your hands, and enjoy the summer. Any questions specific about South Carolina that we may or may not have touched on? Go, okay.
Yep, I don't
Next
see any in
slide.
the chat. Mhm.
So we put this up here, Centers for Disease Control, some really quick tips. I'm not going to go through all of them in the essence of time, but again, make sure you have soap in the bathrooms, right? That's the easiest way to help prevent transmission of COVID. Wash your hands, right? 20 seconds, warm water, use soap. And part of that, all of the pool companies want to make sure that you've got soap, you've got toilet paper, paper towels, those types of things. A lot of it is up to the associations if you provide hand sanitizer or not. That's really individualized, that you should talk to your management company about. Making sure that you social distance, wear your mask, have a good time. You've got the CDC website, which is an excellent resource. You also have healthyswimming.org, which is through North Carolina Department of Environmental Health. That is a great resource as well for providing maybe some flyers or some cool graphics for that. The 3 W's is on that site as well. And those should be posted at the front entrance of your swimming pool, right? To remind folks in North Carolina of your stated fire rated capacity, but also to wash your hands, wear a mask. Any questions about CDC website, Healthy Swimming?
We are moving along swimmingly, nothing yet.
All right, so as we transition from COVID to pool season, which we all know and we all love, it can be very stressful time for all of us, right? There's a lot that goes on very, very quickly. One of the biggest questions we get asked is, why in the world are you putting my pool furniture out in March when my pool doesn't open until May? And the reality is that all of us have to get the pools up and out, kind of get them de-winterized, get the water turned on, get the pool covers pulled off, get the furniture out so we can make sure that all the furniture is in good condition. Most of the time it's cleaned once when it gets put out, and then it's re-cleaned again prior to opening. But the health department wants to make sure that the pool is set up as needs to be when we go through our pre-inspections. And in North Carolina, all pools are required to have a pre-inspection prior to permitting, okay? So that means that we have to get the pool ready, make sure the chemicals are balanced, the filters are running, everything is as it should be, the gates work, and then we have to call the health inspector, come out, and you pass a pre-permit inspection. Some associations don't realize, even though you're a private pool, right, you're not open to the public. By state statute, you are considered a public swimming pool. So you have to follow the rules of the health department. So you are permitted by the state for operation each year, which is a seasonal application, unless you're a year-round permit that would run January to December. So one of the things that actually stops us in our tracks are the pool phones, and our friends over at Cedar Management know that is sometimes our nemesis to get those pool phones working. Sometimes they're turned off, sometimes they're left on over the season. It just depends on what you do individually, but we have to have those pool phones on in order to pass inspection. So that's important to make sure those phones get turned on in March so that we can go by and verify that the phones work, make sure that 911 will pick up and answer. And this year is important in that North Carolina has changed the ruling and that you have to be able to call the 911 emergency phone back at the swimming pool. If it does not call back, then you will not be able to get your permit until that is fixed. And the reason for that is, God forbid there's an emergency in a swimming pool and 911 gets disconnected. They need to be able to call that phone back, and it needs to be an audible sound so that I can pick up and say, hi, this is Brian. I called 911. Yes, I need an ambulance or a fire truck or police car. So that is something that we're already seeing sometimes is not in place, and that's holding all of us up on inspection. So it's important to make sure that the pool phones work.
And Brian, just to jump in there, I know people ask, why can't they use cell phones at the pool in lieu of saving that phone bill each month?
Why can't they use the cell phones? Well, the easiest answer to that is because the state code says you can't, right? That's the easiest one. The reason the state code says that you can't is because it was written kind of pre-cell phone, not pre-cell phone technology, but cell phones are more common now than they were. And cell phones can lose a charge, right? You know, we all know that we're running on 1% battery. And if you're dependent on a cell phone, you may not be able to make that emergency call. And it also may not geolocate you to the swimming pool. So the state says, if that phone is mounted to the wall and you pick it up and you dial 911, then we know that it's going to work, and we know that the police, fire, or medical personnel will be able to reach you at the swimming pool. That may change years down the road, but for right now, you can't use cellular technology. You can use voice over IP as long as it registers with the E911 system. Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
So we do have a couple of questions that came through, and there was two that were actually directed back at the COVID slides. They kind of came in right as we were changing topics. So if you don't mind kind of going back, rewinding for us. So one of our participants, Jim, he asked about visitors at the pool. Are there any recommendations? And then also asked about sanitizing furniture.
The visitors to the pool would be an HOA discretion. You would still need to follow social distancing, mask wearing, right? Because you're not in the family unit. But that would really be more of an HOA decision with limiting your occupancy, right? If you allow guests, is that going to put you over occupancy? Most likely not. But again, that's pool specific. And if Jim has, again, we're going back to our 1,000 square feet. If Jim has a pool that's 1,000 square feet, so you've got 24 people, well, what happens when Jim brings 6 people there, right, as a part of his party? And then that puts you over your occupancy rate for the rest of the homeowners. So that would really be an HOA decision with whether you would allow your residents to bring guests or not. As for the pool furniture, it is recommended that it be cleaned, sanitized daily or after each use. Now that's a recommendation, right? So that again would be up to the association, the pool management company, the property management company to devise the best plan for your facility that's specific.
Awesome. And then the question was about the sanitation of the furniture, chairs, tables. Is that still required, or is that kind of as the HOA decides?
So it's a recommendation. It's a recommendation, and the association should ask their council how they would best work through that, right? Whether once a day, if they're a service company, right? If we come out and clean the tables, does that satisfy the requirement to the level of the council, right? Not to us, not to Cedar, not the HOA, but to what level of liability does that put the association at? So I would recommend that they talk with their pool management company, they talk with their property manager, and then if need be, loop the council in to make that decision that best suits them.
Awesome. Okay, couple more questions. Why is our HOA pool considered public in the state of North Carolina? This is from Kathy Mortensen.
That is a great question, Miss Kathy. The state code reads that any body of water that is shared by more than one household is considered a public pool, right? That doesn't mean that anybody can come into your association pool, right? It's private property, but by the state statute, you're governed by the rules of the Department of Health and Human Services. So any body of water that's used in an HOA, a golf club, those types of settings falls under the public pool swimming rule. Even though it is for private use, you still have to maintain an operational permit and the health department guidelines.
Awesome.
Great question.
Yes. Okay. Another question from Amanda Sidway. Does our neighborhood pool have to have a working water fountain?
In South Carolina, yes. In South Carolina, it's a part of the health department code. In North Carolina, it's a part of the building code, right? So South Carolina, several years ago, made a big push to make sure the water fountains were working because a lot of people never turned them on and they were broken. And while it is a requirement of the 6151 rule for DHEC, they wanted to target that because people were getting dehydrated at swimming pools, right? You may not bring water to the pool and you needed to have the ability to drink water there. So that was a big push several years ago. Most of that's been corrected. And if not, then they'll ding you on the inspection and say that you need to get that done. North Carolina, it's a part of the building code. So you should have a working water fountain there, but you can be permitted without one. But they're probably going to notate it on the inspection that water fountain's not working.
Awesome. So 2 questions of inspections. One, when will pre-inspections be done? They should be doing those now. And then will HOA be notified if the inspection is going to take place or has taken place?
Both great questions. So North Carolina, you cannot start inspections until April 1st, right? So that's the first business day in April, right? So that's the first day that you can start. So most of us start getting pools ready, right? And then we start scheduling inspections maybe mid to late March, calling and saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Inspector, we've got 5 pools with you. We'd like to go ahead and schedule pools A, B, C, D, and E for April 5th, right? Because there's a large number of pools that all of the pool management companies as well as the counties have to get through for May 1st, as well as Memorial Day. So we start scheduling those pre-inspections as pools are ready. The things that impact those dates are pool phones not working, motors not working. We may have repairs that are ongoing. So it's a big puzzle piece that we all have to kind of work to fit in and make them all fit. But pool pre-inspections start generally around April 1st and continue through Memorial Day weekend. The second part to that question is, I believe, are the HOAs notified of the inspection dates and can they come? Is that, am I?
Yep. Well,
Okay.
are they notified of the pool inspection prior to? And that would probably be based on your pool company, correct?
Based on the pool company, most of the time I would say no. And the reason being is that the inspectors are on somewhat of a tight time frame, and there's a cadence to the inspection, right? So we know the inspector is going to check certain things. First thing they're going to check is the phone. Then they're going to check the chemicals, because if those two aren't right, the inspection stops. And the inspections are not really intense, but they have certain things that they're looking for. And certainly we love to have our HOA members there, but the inspectors have a limited amount of time. So most all of the pool companies will schedule the inspections. They'll have an area supervisor that would go out, meet with the inspector, handle the inspection, and then there would be a follow-up after if there's any issues that the inspector noted, or giving a copy of the inspection results to the association. So not that we don't want you to be there, but just things happen very quickly. And also sometimes the times change, right? If we get to the pool and there may be something wrong, we may have to reschedule. And then if we let the association know and you're taking off work to be at the inspection, it may be difficult if we have to reschedule. So most of the time, no, but all the inspections are public record, so you have access to those, and the pool company should share those results with you. Nothing to
Awesome.
hide there.
Okay, so a couple more questions. They've got some good ones tonight, keeping us on our toes. Thank you guys for your questions. Again, sticking to inspections, can we open our pool as soon as we pass inspection?
The literal answer is yes, but the other side of that is no, because your pool opening dates is a contracted date, right, with all of us. So most service pools or non-lifeguarded pools are May 1 to September 30th, and the contracts are based on the number of visits that we have to see the pool. And once your pool opens, we have to be there 7 days a week, right? We have to check the chemicals every day. We got to check the emergency phone every day. And if you want to open early, certainly the pool companies need to know that, because we need to plan our resources, right? We need to add, if, again, I'm going to pick on Sarah. If Sarah says, hey, I want to open my pool 2 weeks early, and we weren't planning on that'll adjust the routes and things, and we've got to get somebody by there every day. And most of the time that would result in a little bit extra charge for any of us to go out and clean the pools daily and see the pools daily. So the technical answer is yes, but you really need to talk to your pool management company to see if that's even possible if you want to open early, but you will be permitted, ready to open.
Good. All right, because that answered our last question from Christine Rice was opening the pools early, prior April 1st to October 31st. So how can they open April 1st if they don't inspect it? And that is to get that done before inspections technically start, which we did for one of my pools already, actually.
Which can, so the way around that is, if you, let's say that you did want to open your pool prior to April 1, you would have to apply for an annual permit, right? So that permit would be a January 1st to December 31st permit. So that would allow the inspector and the pool operating company to say, well, I want to inspect in February, I want to inspect in March, because your permit is annual. That gives you more leeway for your inspections. So that would be the way, not really around, but that's how you would deal with it, would be you would change your permit status to an annual permit, and that would allow you to permit prior to April 1.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Nicole, you ready to move on? Next slide. Any other? And then guys, we're any more questions that come in regarding kind of inspections and little things like this, we're going to have a Q&A at the very end. But we want to get through, the majority of this and not keep everybody tied up on one topic. So for any more inspection questions or any more questions regarding kind of pre-opening, again, chat those and we'll have a Q&A at the end.
Could I touch on one thing before we move on? Would you mind, Sarah? Mm-hmm. So the last tab there, pool motors and electrical safety. This is huge, and it's come to light in our industry from an incident in Raleigh, I believe it's 2016, where a lifeguard was electrocuted and subsequently drowned and lost her life due to some loose wires under the deck. And that has prompted the enforcement of several rules and regulations in North Carolina specifically. Anytime, and this is huge important for us in spring, but also as we move through summer, if your pool motor stops working and you have to replace it, right? Your pool company can't go, they can replace the motor, but they can't do the wiring. You have to have a licensed electrician do the wiring and make sure that the breaker, right? Everybody knows what the little breaker is in the box, has to be GFCI protected. But here's the thing, you have to have an electrical inspection by code enforcement to legally have that motor passed, if you will. And that takes some time. If you can imagine how busy the electricians are right now. So that's it's not really a challenge. It's an opportunity, certainly, for everybody to make sure that the pools are safe, but it's presenting a challenge from a timing perspective that if your motor goes out today, we have to get the motor changed, but we also have to go through a couple of extra steps before we can open the pool or go through permitting. So your pool companies will most likely tell you that, right? But it's important to discuss that and make sure everybody knew what was occurring with the electrical inspections. And with COVID and supply and demand shortages, I'm sure everybody heard about all the freeze damage in Texas, right? Several months ago. There's a shortage of pool parts. There's a shortage of pool pumps. There's a shortage of pool filters. And while everyone is being resourceful in trying to locate those, we may experience some challenges getting parts and pumps and filters and things over the summer. So just be in mind that we ask everybody to be flexible and understanding as we work through that. But big take homes there. Turn your phone on, right? We've got to get through our pre-inspections. And if your motor goes down, we have to have your electrician pull a permit on it. Okay. Summertime. Next slide.
Ready?
Communicate, right? Talk to your pool management folks. Get to know your service technicians. Talk to your property management companies. If something sounds wrong, smells wrong, looks wrong, it probably is wrong. I didn't know the pool was green, right? We need to know that, right? We didn't know the toilet didn't flush. Who didn't turn the phone on? Those are all things that, as a service provider, whether it's us or Cedar or Swim Club or Aquatech or Carolina Pool Management, it's always disappointing when we get to the end of the season and a customer is upset because, you know, the women's room toilet never flushed, or, you know, there was a broken chair that we could have had repaired. So if you see something, say something, right? Because we may not know, we may have missed it, right? There's always a human error factor in there, but we don't like for folks to sit there and be upset over something that may have been missed, right? So again, pool's green, toilet doesn't flush, phone doesn't work, chair's broken, something like that. Reach out to your pool management company, reach out to your property manager so that we all can help you through that process. COVID has presented a huge challenge for all of us for recruiting, right? Everybody is fighting over staff. So last year it was very difficult because some parents didn't want their young adults to work in pools, right? Everybody was afraid of COVID, and the resources that we have to recruit, right? Going to colleges, going to career fairs, going to high schools, that wasn't there, and it still isn't. So we all have had to shift and pivot to online recruiting, social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is, to try and drive folks there. So all of us, all of the pool management companies, all of the seasonal businesses are really struggling to find good folks, right? And that has not been the case. So if you know family, friends, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, cousin that want to work at the pool, want to get trained as a lifeguard, it's important. Please send them our way, right? We need to help get the message out that we all are always looking for good staff, always looking for good staff. And at the end of the day, we want you to enjoy the pool, right? The pool is there as a benefit and a resource for the community. Enjoy the pool, have a good time. Let's start to get back to some semblance of, I don't know what our new normal will be, but let's start to kind of create those fun summer moments like we used to have. So any questions about summer?
Not yet. I'll interrupt
Okay.
you if you
Sorry.
have some. They might come in afterwards.
All right. So moving along to fall, this is important for everybody to have a season wrap up, and most of the time that occurs by nature at our lifeguard facilities, right? We meet with the board and say, how was Susie? How was Nicole? How was Sarah? Did everybody do a good job? Are there any improvements? But for our non-lifeguarded customers too, service customers, that's important, right? What went well? What can we improve upon? And part of those processes may be looking at facility improvements. Do you have a fob system, gate access, the condition of the pool? All of those things play into that, and you really should ask for kind of a review, a walkthrough. I'm a fan of meeting on the pool deck and seeing, feeling, touching the pool, right? Let's get out and look at the deck. What's the condition of the deck? What's the condition of the pool? What are some of the things maybe in the pump room that we should start to look at as far as capital improvements? There are some changes that are coming around with the Department of Energy for pumps, right? There is actually a regulation where pool pumps need to be more efficient. And you're going to hear a lot of folks talk about variable speed drives, and some of our older pools have multiple pump systems and the motors are always going out. So you'll hear your pool management company talk about possibly switching over to a variable speed, more efficient pump, or possibly going from a dual or triple or even quad pump system over to a single pump system. The technology has improved a lot over the years, and some of the pumps are reaching their lifespan. And there's probably about 20 or 30 pumps that have been discontinued this January, right? They're not making them anymore. So it's whatever's left on the shelf for parts and things. So parts are going to continue to be more difficult. But I will say the Department of Energy mandate is not, again, I'm going to pick on Sarah. It does not say, Sarah, you need to change your pump out right now. It's as things go out that you will need to update the systems and make them more efficient. It's not a, hey, you have to change your pump out right now. So most all of you have heard over the years about VGB compliance. What in the world does VGB mean? It's Virginia Graham Baker. Was a young girl that lost her life in a swimming pool because she got stuck to a main drain. And that law has been around since 2008, 2009. And most of you know, those are the main drains at the bottom of the pool. They're generally big white plastic things. And that's where the water from the pump gets drawn from at the bottom of the pool. You have the skimmers that collect the debris on the side, and then the main drains at the bottom of the pool. The equalizer covers are the little hockey pucks that stick on the side of the pool on the right next to the skimmers. So those have to be changed out every so often. Most of the drain covers are 5 years. There are some 7, there's some 10, and there's some 15 years. And your pool management company manages those dates for you. So when you get a proposal that says, hey, you need to change your drains, your VGB drains, your main drains, or your equalizer covers, that's because they've realized that the compliance date, you will not meet the criteria for your compliance date, and you'll need to change prior to your next inspection or prior to the date of expiration of those covers. Okay. Lastly, and I want to touch on this, it can get a little technical with the bonding requirements, but I do want to touch on that a little bit because I know a lot of you have seen us request a bonding inspection or, hey, a safe electrical safety inspection. And I'll do my best to give you the 60-second version. So everybody knows what grounding is, right? You got the extension cord with the little prong at the bottom. That's what we commonly know as grounding. But bonding is where all of your metal components at the swimming pool, your lights, your handrails, your ladders, your anchor cups, right, that hold the backstroke flags, maybe you have swim team blocks. All of those have to be connected by a little copper wire. And what that does is it allows for any stray voltage. Let's say that you have some stray electrical current in the water that gets passed amongst all of those metal components and makes it less of a shock hazard to your swimmers. And we've seen in a lot of older pools that sometimes those wires aren't intact and you can't see them, right? They're under concrete. And that's why we like to have our electricians go check and make sure that all of that's completed and in place. If not, it needs to be repaired, because that's an important safety function of your swimming pools. That in the case of the lifeguard in 2016, she lost her life because of it. But it's important to make sure that is intact. So when your pool companies are asking about bonding inspections, those types of things, that's what they're talking about. little copper wire that runs all the way around the pool and connects all of the metal components of that swimming pool back to your pool pump room, and make sure that everybody is safe. Okay.
Awesome. I just have a few questions that other board members may have. How often are the main drains having to be replaced?
So that depends on the manufacturer of the drains themselves. Aquastar, if they're made by a company called Aquastar, they're every 5 years. If they're made by a company called Waterway, they're 7. Lawson Aquatics are every 10, right? So those dates are tracked on a form called a PDSC form. And that's something that your pool company has. And we kind of live and die by those forms, right? So they have all of those dates, and they would be the one that would be able to tell you where you are in the process. And we, in the fall, we review those so that we can send out proposals and say, hey guys, we need to change those drains out before permitting in March. Or sometimes you have an odd date that may fall in the middle of a summer, right? That you may get a call and say, hey, we need to change the drains. They're expiring August 1st. So that's what they're talking about. Most drains are 5, some are 7, some are 10.
Awesome. And then for your fall inspection reports, how soon after the pool closes should board members expect to have those in hand from the pool company?
We do our best. I think all of us try and get it in your hands for budget season, right? Because that's crazy for your boards, for you guys, making sure that you know what to expect for the upcoming season. Most all of the larger capital expenditures can be planned out, right? If you know that your pool needs to be replastered, we can generally judge, hey, you're 3 years out, you're 2 years out, you're 1 year out, and now it's time to replaster. So those bigger ticket items should be able to be projected, right? But there's a lot of good information on those fall inspection reports. What we do see sometimes is when the furniture goes up, the pool cover goes on, the pool close sign goes on the gate, people tend to forget about the pools, right? You're getting into board elections, you're getting into Halloween and the holidays. People are not thinking about swimming pools. And that becomes difficult to manage when you open up that email that was sent in September and March and says, yeah, sure, we'd like to go ahead and do this, this, and this, and this. And we have a short time frame to get that done. So take a look at those when you're going through the budgeting process and really read over it, because it should give you a good snapshot of where you are. And I like to think of it like a traffic light. The red stuff is really a priority, a safety issue that you need to get done. The yellow things would be great to do. It would kind of be on our wish list, but kind of borderline that we need to get taken care of sooner than later. And then the green would be a wish list. So every year you knock the red light stuff off, the yellow lights move down, and then you continue to work the list as you go through.
That's great. I don't think we have any questions, so we'll, last but not least, go to winter.
Winter. So despite what some people think, we do not hibernate over the winter. We are a year-round company, as are all the pool management companies. We're out there cleaning pools, seeing things, checking on things. Don't forget about the pool, right? Just because it's Thanksgiving, just because it's Christmas or Hanukkah, does not mean that the pool is not important, right? The pool is yours 12 months out of the year, and we take care of it 12 months out of the year. Don't forget about it, because spring comes up quicker than you think, right? Talk to your pool management company, address any big concerns. If you have any permitting issues, health department hangups, that is a time to address it. Winterizations, two schools of thought. Some companies run your swimming pool pump year round. We choose to do that. Some pool companies turn it off and winterize it. Again, 6 one, half dozen the other. Can argue both sides, but make sure that you understand what your pool company is doing during the winter service, right? When they're going to be coming out. And then also making sure, is the water to the building turned off, right? Due to COVID this past year, we didn't have a lot of fall festivals, come have cookies with Santa, Easter egg hunts, those types of things. But that's important to talk to your pool management company about. Do you need water onto the building? right? Or shut everything down, go ahead and winterize it, right? Those are things that you need to make sure, you know, just a quick email. Hey guys, did you turn the water off the building? We good for the winter time? Or we're having cookies with Santa on December 23rd. Please make sure that the bathrooms are up and running. Because there's nothing worse than getting a phone call the night before, the day before, saying, hey, bathrooms aren't put together and we have an event at the pool. COVID's curbed that a little bit, but at the end of the day, just make sure that you talk with your pool management company about the potable water, your city water at your facilities.
Awesome. Good. Any questions? I don't see any questions coming through.
I don't think so.
Good.
Well, with that, we
Y'all
will-
gotta have some questions. No questions?
All right. Well, moving on. Again, thank you, Brian, so much for joining us tonight. I know it's the busiest time of all for you all, and you're taking time out of your day to provide your knowledge and expertise, which I believe has been tremendously helpful this evening. So at this time, Pam Sages will be announcing our results of our random raffle. It looks like we have about 55 participants this evening. And again, this is an Amazon gift card that you will receive in your email based on your registration that you signed up for this webinar with. So at this time, Sarah, can you unmute Pam, and Pam will share our results with everyone.
All right. Well, Pam, you're unmuted, but we did have one question, or actually we have a couple questions. Do you want to do the raffle first and then answer the question? Well, we have Q&A, so let's do the raffle. We have Q&A after this.
That sounds good. All right, Pam.
Sure. So first is Mr. Charles Thompson.
Oh, yay, Charles, good job. That's one of my board members.
Oh, good. Next we have Mr. Bob Bamberry. And last we have Tammy McLean.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Pam. So now we'll kind of go and open the chat for any questions that we may have missed during our session for Brian to answer, and kind of do a little wrap up Q&A. Again, as you'll see on this slide, please feel free to visit our social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also please feel free to go on Google reviews and submit a review for us and Trident. So we appreciate your time this evening. And Sarah, do you want to, or Pam, do you want to go over any questions we may have missed?
Yeah, sure. So we did have a couple questions about allowing people to have access to just the deck of the pool, whether it's right after the inspection's been complete or even after the pool has been closed.
Well, that proves interesting in that it would be actually more of an HOA issue to determine if you want your residents to use the pool area outside of pool opening. Some people don't, right? It's not monitored. It may not be cleaned daily. The short answer is, can you use the pool deck after permitting? The answer is yes, but technically the pool still should be closed. So you can say, okay, guys, you can go lay out and read a book, suntan, whatever you, but please don't get in the pool is basically what it boils down to, because the pool technically is not open. And that would really be up to the boards to decide if you think the residents would behave enough and not get in the pool. I mean, that's the only really way to put it, that, you know, you get a sunshiny day and you tell everybody don't get in the pool, they're probably going to get in the pool, right? So that's up to you as an association, with what you feel is best, but technically you can.
So that was kind of some of the questions are, after hours, after the pool technically closes, or, an off season, or if you guys are right after the inspection's been done, but maybe haven't officially opened the pool, can we give them access, or can we use it for after hours events? So that answers just about all of the questions.
I
So
do, I
after-
think there, oh, sorry. Sorry,
Oh, go
Brian.
ahead.
I'm sorry. After hours can get a little sticky. You can do what you would like on the pool deck whenever, that's up to you. The question or problem arises when you start mixing the water in. Most all of your permits are good for sunrise to sunset or dawn to dusk. So you need, and that is a huge topic of conversation, and sometimes it can get somewhat spirited when associations find out they may not be able to swim at 10 o'clock at night, because the permit is valid for sunrise to sunset. Basically, it's a little more technical than that, but that's the general gist of it. If you want to say, hey, again, I picked on Sarah tonight. Hey, Sarah, we're going to open up your association to swim till 11 or 12 at night. You can, as long as you have adequate lighting and you get a night swimming permit. So the county has to come out, make sure that everybody, that the lights work, make sure that there's adequate lighting on the deck, and then they would give you the blessing and permit to swim whenever you would like, whether it be 11 o'clock at night or 3 o'clock in the morning. That would be allowable if the association deemed appropriate.
All right. One that came in from Jim earlier that I think we missed. North Carolina at one point said a secondary emergency exit would be required. Is there any news on that?
Thank you for catching that. I forgot about that one. Thanks.
No, that's really fire code issues regarding exits and what have you. And some of your pools are limited with access as it is, right? Some may have a service gate that's chained. Some may have only one gate. I can think of one pool right now that only has one gate going in. So it would really be facility specific. And I think making sure that you have the 3W sign and maybe some arrows on the deck would help just people be mindful of going in and going out. But I'm not aware of a requirement to where say that you've got to have multiple exits and openings outside of fire code. But it would be facility specific.
Awesome. All right.
We
And
did- Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Nicole.
I think that about answers it. Did I miss anything else?
We did have a request for the best email address for Trident. I know you guys have a great big team of people because you manage pools all over the place. So what would be the best contact information, email address for our people to be able to send some more questions or follow up? Or if they wanna get a quote from Trident.
Yeah, absolutely. So so my email is always on, right? So email address is my name, Brian, BRIAN, at Trident Pool Group, TRIDENT Pool, POOL Group.com. So just my name and TridentPoolGroup.com. Love to answer any questions, and certainly glad to be a resource to Cedar Management. Y'all are great partners with us, and certainly your facilities as well. So any questions you have, send them along. We're happy to answer for you.
Awesome. Brian, thank you again for taking the time this evening to speak with us. And also my colleagues, Pam Sages and Sarah Wachtel, for assisting me this evening with the hosting, asking questions and raffles. And all of you board members who attended tonight. We had a great turnout of about 50 people, which is wonderful. We hope this was very beneficial and informative for you all moving into pool season. And be on the lookout for our future webinars. We're trying to do these quarterly, so your property managers will be sending out all the information as we get them scheduled. We look forward to seeing you again, and thanks everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.